Dr. Fauci's concerns because it will be deep into next year before the entire world is vaccinated. And between now and then, that's over 7 billion humans in which this vaccine can replicate and mutate. Don, why don't we move on to the first question?
You bet, sir. Jenny from Tarzana. Jenny has a question about vaccine rollout, and Jenny, you are on.
Thank you. Thank you for holding this town hall. I was very concerned with the way the rollout started here in California for those of us 65 and older, because it was a case where some of the university hospitals, like Kaiser, UCLA, whatever, some of them knew about it, some of them didn't seem to, some of them were offering vaccines, some of them weren't. And then in trying to get on the major sites for the major rollout sites, of course, it was very confusing to try to use the computer. And finally, the site crashed. And the next morning, they apologized that it had crashed, but said that enough people got on that there are no more vaccines available until a later time. So then I thought, well, I'm glad I didn't get on there, because if I'd gotten my first one, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get the second one because of distribution problems. So it would be nice to have some clarification about all of that. And if we do have to worry about getting a second shot.
I'd like to address your question a little bit, and also request the written question submitted by Jillian Acosta of Granada Hills, who asked a very similar question. But first, Doctor, it's my understanding that although you're supposed to get the second shot 3 weeks after the first shot, that if there's a longer delay, the program is still successful. How important is it that if you get the first shot, you get the second shot on just the right day that they've got scheduled?
Well, I'm advising people, I think it's important to take the first immunization that becomes available to you. And that's, whether it is the Pfizer or the Moderna or whoever is offering it to you, get the first shot you can get. And you do have some protective immunity from just one shot. And it is true that dose spacing is not exactly precise. And you can understand that if it were exactly precise, it wouldn't be exactly either 21 or 28 days, because viruses don't understand calendars. So if you have an opportunity to get an immunization, get it. Don't worry about when you're going to get the second one. It will be protective. And once they have you in their system, they can call you back for that second one. They'll do their best to get you back in there for the second one.
And so if they were going to try to get you back in 15 days and they don't get you back till 25 days, you're still getting a pretty good level of protection.
By the EUA that FDA granted these companies, the Pfizer, you're supposed to go back in 21 days. And the Moderna, you're supposed to go back in 28 days.
But whatever it is, if you're a week or two late, you're still getting a high level of protection.
Exactly. Within 4 or 5 days on either side of that, it probably makes no difference at all.
And there have been some studies saying that even that first dosage by itself offers a pretty good level of protection. We're going to be learning more about this. I do want people. The number one problem here is the shortage of vaccine, which is why you have to schedule everything in advance. I mean, every year you get a flu shot, they got plenty of vaccine that's at some point, and they're waiting for you. But every vial here is more valuable than gold of the same quantity.
But Congressman, I would also say, in response to her question, they did the really hard part of this really well, which is inventing these vaccines.
Yes.
It's an amazing scientific miracle. But coming up with scheduling software that everyone can use, that's not hard. And they didn't invest in that. And I'm critical of that because I think that's what led to some of these issues with people being unable to get online, schedule. It's frustrating. And I can feel the stress that this is putting people through.
Okay, if you're a healthcare worker or you or a relative you're working to help is in a long care facility, or especially at this point, if you're 65 or older, you can go to vaccinatelacounty.com. That's vaccinatelacounty.com, or you can call 833-540-0473. But at the same time, the number of people trying to get the vaccine exceeds the amount of vaccine serum that they have. But I would urge you to do that. And there are two centers in our district, one at the Balboa Sports Complex in Encino, the other at Cal State Northridge. But the key thing is scheduling that appointment. Let's go on to another question.
Okay, Congressman, we've had a couple of questions about stimulus payments. This one is from Eric, who is calling from someplace within the 818 area code. Eric, go ahead.
Hey there, Congressman. First of all, thank you for what you do, and I'm sorry you had to go through the protests or riots the other day. I guess my question is of a highly political nature, which is to say that it seems that because the Democrats have a majority in the Senate or slim majority in the Senate and the House and the executive branch, that there's an opportunity to really do the right thing and sort of like set the record straight by following through on our policies. And I heard, obviously, that Biden wants to put in $1,400, which is completing the $2,000, but not a full, flat-out $2,000. And I appreciate all the aid that the government has been able to roll out this year, but I think a lot of people are mad or cynical because they feel they've been slighted in a way. So it's a question mostly on if you're willing to and how can you push fellow Democrats and the rest of the House, if possible, to follow through on their word basically. Because if we don't do that, we're going to end up with somebody like Trump in the future. And next time the guy might be smarter. So.
Yes, I've often asked the question, if your country is going to be run by a leader with authoritarian tendencies, do you want that leader to be capable or incapable? And we always want capable leadership, but if somebody has authoritarian tendencies, maybe. In any case, we have new leadership now. I strongly support the additional $1,400. Obviously, Biden does. Obviously, Pelosi does. And yes, we can pass that bill through the House. Now, the Senate is a completely different story. And in anyone who's trying to do anything progressive can probably, anything that has a chance of making the Senate can definitely pass the House. Probably it will be supported by the Biden administration. The Senate is 50-50 with a filibuster rule. And you, of course, know who Schumer is. You know who McConnell is. There are two other individuals who are the most powerful persons when it comes to legislation in this country. One is Joe Manchin, senator from West Virginia, the most conservative Democrat. When Joe Manchin thinks that a bill is too liberal, well, now we have 49 Democratic senators, and the bill does not pass the Senate. The second is the Senate parliamentarian. There are truly arcane rules for determining which bills require 60 votes in the Senate and which require 50 votes in the Senate. And the ultimate decider on that is the Senate parliamentarian. As long as you have the filibuster rule, that any bill that is subject to a filibuster, and that is certainly more than half, requires 60 votes. And while there are a few Republicans who will cross the aisle and cross McConnell, I don't get 10 very often. And then the final question is, well, what about abolishing the filibuster rule? And then that takes me back to Joe Manchin, who has already said, along with several others, the Democratic senators, that they would oppose doing that. So there is this belief in the country that because there are 50 Democratic senators and the Senate is presided over by Vice President Harris, that Democrats have control of the Senate. That the word control should be spelled with very small letters. I think, however, that there is a lot of support for, well, I'm not sure we're going to be able to pass the additional $1,400 a person. I strongly support it, but I know it'll pass the House. I think Manchin has come out against it. Yet there are a few Republicans that have come out for it, and we'll see. But I want to go to a survey question now, and at some point I want to describe what's in Biden's proposed bill, since people are interested not only in what bill did we pass in December, but what are we likely to do in March. But this is a survey question. You can respond by with the buttons on your phone. Question A. Been over a day so far. Do you approve of how Biden is handling the job? If you feel very favorable, press 1. Somewhat favorable, 2. Mixed, 3. Somewhat unfavorable, 4. And very unfavorable, 5. So how do you think Joe Biden is doing? And the Biden-Harris administration. And with that, why don't we go on to another question?
Okay, Congressman, we have a question from Nora about the impeachment, and again, calling from the 818. Nora, tell us where you're from, and you're on.
Okay, thank you. Yes, well, I'm in Sherman Oaks.
America's best named city. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Congressman, yes, that's right. My question does concern the second impeachment of Donald Trump, and honestly, I am not at all confident that that the outcome is going to be any different than his first impeachment was. So, in other words, I do not think that he will be convicted. Now, I find it galling that as the way things stand right now, this man is entitled to a 6-figure pension and all kinds of other benefits and perks as a former president of the United States, all funded by tax dollars that he himself rarely contributed to, from what I understand. And so my question is, if he is not convicted in this second impeachment, or if he does not encounter some other type of legal consequence that would affect his ability to collect on these retirement benefits, would it be possible to introduce some type of legislation or do something to see to it that this man does not, play golf at Mar-a-Lago for the rest of his life on the taxpayer dime? Is there anything that can be done about that?
First, as to impeachment, of course, I voted for impeachment. This, I believe, is the most bipartisan impeachment in the history of the country, in that we did get 10 Republican votes, which is still only 5% of the Republicans who serve in the House. But if you look at the history of impeachment, that's more than is usual. I think it's unprecedented. I do not know how the Senate will vote, but it takes 2/3 to convict. If he's convicted, almost assuredly they'll go on to a second vote and pass a second vote, which bars him from ever running for federal office again. And I think that would be the single most important thing we could do. I do think we should take away most of the benefits he enjoys as a former president, but I do not think we should deprive him He does, according to him, have a lot of money, so he could pay for his own security. The fact is that the Secret Service knows how to do things that you can't just buy with money. And so, but I agree with you. Pensions, office support, and classified briefings. The only reason to give and those are expensive, I might add. Anytime you're handling the most sensitive things and flying them down to another state, et cetera. The only reason to give a former president a classified briefing is if that former president is going to be advising the present president and thereby uses that information to help us make better governmental decisions. And while there are many things of which I am unsure in the world, I am very sure that Joe Biden does not want national security advice from Donald Trump. So there's no reason to give him those security briefings. So I think we can save some money. More importantly, there is a chance, and I think it is far less than a 50-50 chance, that he is able to, that we are able to impeach and convict in the Senate. As a matter of fact, that leads me into the next survey question. This is B. Let's look back at the last 4 years. Do you approve or disapprove of Donald Trump's performance during the 4 years? If you feel very favorable toward Donald Trump, press 1. Somewhat favorable 2. Mixed is 3. Somewhat unfavorable is 4. And very unfavorable is 5. And I believe we'll be announcing if I can read the sign here from a social distance, on Biden, just so you have these answers, very favorable 72%, favorable 8%, mixed 5%, somewhat unfavorable 4%, and very unfavorable 5%. So those are the answers for Biden, and you'll be keying in those answers on Trump right now. Very favorable is 1, very unfavorable is 5, we're going to go on to a written question. We do encourage people to submit questions in advance, and we are able to take some of them. This is from Therese Asrinian from Reseda, who says, hi, I'm a constituent from UCLA and a Oregon Project ambassador. I believe the global distribution of vaccine is incredibly important, but needs, and then goes on to say, do you support emergency global funding for COVID-19 in the next relief package? And the answer is yes, I do. And I've in fact been a loud advocate for that when we discuss this matter. President Biden has included $11 billion in international pandemic response in his package. And my reasoning here is threefold. First, it's the right thing to do. Obviously, we have to concentrate first and use that scarce vaccine for the American people. But then, and as we build up our vaccine capacity and we get Americans vaccinated, we need to provide vaccine. We don't just shut down the factory at that point. We need to vaccinate the rest of the world because it's the right thing to do, and participate in that effort. That's not only is the right thing to do, it's critical for our economy because we look forward to the day when our economy opens up, and that's so important to the restaurants and the small businesses up and down the boulevards of the San Fernando Valley. But the whole U.S. economy needs trade partners, and we will lose many tens of billions of dollars out of our GDP if we do not have, if other countries have to shut down because they don't have their people vaccinated. The third thing, and here's where Dr. Goldman may correct me if I'm wrong, even if we vaccinate everyone in America, that still leaves, well, about 7 billion people who could get the disease outside the United States. And everyone who gets that disease has millions of these virus particles who are replicating. Every replication in every infected person is an opportunity for a mutation. Most mutations aren't a problem. They don't make the disease more contagious or more deadly or more immune from our vaccines, but some mutations might. And so if we don't want to take the masks off 8 months from now just to have to put them back on 16 months from now or 30 months from now. We have a vested interest in trying to cure this disease worldwide until it is, and as long as it has hundreds of millions of people getting it every month around the world, the risk of mutation is quite significant. And some of those mutations could be very harmful to us. With that, why don't we go on to the next question?
Megan, a question about eviction protections, and tell us where you're from, Megan. I have no idea.
Thank you. I am in Woodland Hills. And my question is specific to eviction when the residence has changed ownership. If there's any recourse to not be evicted. In 2019, I made enough money that I haven't been eligible for any of the relief packages. Although on my tax forms it shows me as no dependent. During COVID, I have been responsible for 4 other people with my savings, and so my credit rating is now just dropped hundreds of points. And then trying to find a new place to live with, baby and animals during COVID, and it seems like there's no protection for someone in my position. Is there any recourse?
Okay, the statute. Well, you're looking to move, and eviction protection keeps a landlord from kicking an existing tenant out. It does not require that someone rent to you even if you can't afford the place or afford the first month, last month.
I'm being kicked out of my home.
Oh, you are
my home was sold
Your home was sold
by the landlord. The landlord gave the house to his. The landlord, my current landlord, is no longer the owner, so I am being evicted.
I know if it was an apartment building and it was sold from one owner to the other, the eviction protection would still apply. If this is a case where the new owner wants to move in, I don't frankly know. You've got both federal and state and local eviction protection. And you're the first person to ask, well, what if the landlord isn't evicting me because I'm not paying rent? They're evicting me because they want to move in.
Right.
And the answer is I don't know. But we did continue the federal eviction protection in the December bill through January 31.